Top one of the investigations threatening his presidency. Here's what the New York Times is reporting. That he called then acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker, the man he handpicked for the job, by the way, the man whose main qualification seemed to be his criticism of the Mueller investigation. He called Whitaker late last year to ask whether a Trump supporter could take charge of the Michael Cohen investigation in the Southern District of New York. The president denies it.
Mr. President, did you ask Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker to change the leadership of the investigation into your former personal attorney, Michael Cohen?
No, not at all.
Took him a minute to answer, didn't it? So let's face it. It's no coincidence that the president reportedly wanted to try to put Jeffrey Berman in charge of the Southern District of New York of the investigation of hush money payments during the campaign. Berman, the U.S. attorney for the Southern District, had recused himself, which was the right thing to do. Why? Because Berman contributed to Trump's campaign. He served on the transition team, and he is a former partner of Rudy Giuliani. All good reasons to recuse himself. But essentially, the president wanted Berman to unrecuse himself. And we know how he feels about recusals. Ask former Attorney General Jeff Sessions. He'll tell you. Where's he now? So while the president was saying this in public,
It's a total witch hunt. I've been saying it for a long time. It's a witch hunt. That's all it is. Witch hunt. Witch hunt. Witch hunt. Witch hunt. So far, this thing's been a total witch hunt, and it doesn't implicate me in any way.
so he's saying that in public, and the Times reports that behind closed doors, he was trying to take action to tamp down the investigations. Whitaker, in his testimony before Congress earlier this month, said this.
At no time has the White House asked for, nor have I provided, any promises or commitments concerning the special counsel's investigation or any other investigation.
Excuse me, he said he never provided any promises or commitments, which leaves a whole lot of gray area for having conversations with the president. Whitaker then went on to dance around questions about the content of those conversations.
Mr. Liu asked you if you ever communicated with President Trump about investigations in the Southern District of New York. Instead of answering, you referred him back to your statement, referred him back to what was written for you. But all you said is that you didn't make any, or statement that you didn't make any promises or commitments to President Trump. I want to know whether you talked to President Trump at all about the Southern District of New York's case involving Michael Cohen.
Congresswoman, as I've mentioned several times today, I am not going to discuss my private conversations with the President of the United States.
Dancing around the questions. Hat tip to CNN legal analyst Ellie Honig, who points out that three of this president's key picks, think about this, William Barr for Attorney General, Brett Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court, and Matthew Whitaker for acting AG. Why were they chosen? They were all chosen after they argued against investigations of the president. Sure, Matt Whitaker claimed that he didn't talk to anyone in the White House about the Mueller investigation.
Congresswoman, just to be clear, you're asking me whether or not I talked with anybody essentially in the President's circle or at the White House about my views of the special counsel's investigation.
Correct.
When I was a private citizen
Correct.
and not at the Department of Justice?
Correct.
No, I did not.
Okay, look now, I have pointed this out before if you watch this show, and I think it bears repeating, so pay close attention. Whitaker didn't have to talk to the president about Mueller, at least not in person or on the phone, whatever. You know, he got his messages across right here on the live TV, right here on this show.
I could see a scenario where Jeff Sessions is replaced with a recess appointment, and that Attorney General doesn't fire Bob Mueller, but he just reduces his budget so low that his investigation grinds to almost a halt.
That was July 2017. Just 2 months later, Whitaker was named Chief of Staff to then AG Jeff Sessions, later taking on the job of acting AG when Sessions was fired by the president. So it sure sounds like the president got the message. And then there's Brett Kavanaugh, who wrote in 2009, "We should not burden a sitting president with civil suits, criminal investigations, or criminal prosecutions." And don't forget William Barr wrote a lengthy memo arguing against prosecuting the president for obstruction of justice, which sure didn't hurt his chances of getting the job of Attorney General.
Some have said, on both sides, that it looked like a job application. And so that's what I want you to refer to.
That's ludicrous. If I wanted the job and was going after the job, there are many more direct ways of me bringing myself to the president's attention than writing an 18-page legal memorandum.
It kind of worked, though. Barr is now Attorney General, just the way the president wanted it. So here is the question tonight. If you had nothing to hide, would you try to put an ally in charge of the investigation of your former fixer and keeper of secrets? If you had nothing to hide, would you stack the deck of the Justice Department and the Supreme Court with people who argued against investigating you? Would you do all of it if you had nothing to hide? Now the question is, what is the president hiding? What is he trying to hide? This exchange from Anderson Cooper's interview with Andrew McCabe might make you wonder.
Do you still believe the president could be a Russian asset?
I think it's possible. I think that's why we started our investigation, and I'm really anxious to see where Director